Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Sagittarius. If Sagittarius is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so we have the Emperor card tonight. This is also a bonus reading, by the way. A bonus reading with the Emperor card. We're just going to see what these tea leaves kind of have to say. See how they relate to that Emperor energy. And so if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. Also, if you want to hit the like button or leave a comment, I would love to hear from you. All right. So the first thing I kind of noticed is we have the letters MP right up here. MP. Could be NP, but I think it looks like N or M. M is in mom. P. P is in Peter. I was like, pumpkin. Let's see. I'm just going to turn this a little bit more. Okay, so first we have a person up here. You can see the head right here. You can see the body. You can see that they're carrying something. To me, it looks like a violin. Maybe they're not carrying it so much as playing it, although they do look like they're in movement. With the leg up like this, it looks like kind of running a little bit. So I feel like we have somebody in your life here who maybe has had some hardship. Maybe they've been going through some things, right? It feels like really this has become their whole identity. And it might be, yeah, that they're, I mean, something, a huge tower moment, right? Had a lot of loss, financial woes, health issues, whatever it is. And yeah, that's like maybe the focus of their life right now is surviving these things. But it feels to me almost like, well, it's become kind of the, you know, the human suit that they wear, right? And we all know people like this, right? We maybe even have been like this ourselves at times. I know I have, right? I know for sure. But it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe they're having trouble kind of helping themselves. Maybe they've gotten stuck kind of in a rut of this kind of mentality of being in their victimhood, right? And that's not to say there's any shame in being a victim. There's not, right? It's out of our control almost always. But when things have come and passed and we hold on to that identity, we don't know how to kind of release ourselves of it. It can become a thing where, you know, it's the focus of our days, from the morning when we wake up until the night when we put our heads down to go to sleep. And this can be difficult for those who are around us. And I know that seems like a really unempathetic thing to kind of say or bring up, and I know it's a touchy subject. You know, I've shared on here before, you know, I myself have had, you know, some pretty hard things happen in my life. you know. And so I feel like, now I'm not the foremost, you know, authority on anything like this, but yeah, I get it. I understand from my own personal experience. Now for you, I feel like this is maybe something that can become quite trying. Especially if it is maybe something that has really strained your relationship with this person. You've tried to help them. They are having trouble helping themselves. You know, they maybe are saying they'll do something, that I'm going to go, you know, whatever it is. I don't know, like get a job. Maybe you're letting them stay with you and they're just not getting to a place where they're beginning to really save themselves. And you know, at some point that can become hard to know what to do for somebody who doesn't, you know, they're not proactive in their own healing journey, you know. And so, yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm feeling like, you know, and there's no judgment. There's no judgment here on about anybody in this situation. But yeah, I feel like there's like this sense of not knowing really what to do, right? Now, another thing I've talked about here is that I'm in recovery for substance abuse, right? And I've been in recovery for almost 10 years. And one thing that, you know, I've been in 12-step for a lot of my recovery. And one thing that you will see often is people having a desire to change their lives, right? But really kind of getting in their own way because they're not necessarily willing to do what it takes, you know, to get to that place, to change their lives completely. Now we can talk about, you know, what the many reasons for that might be, but this isn't really what the reading's about. So it can become really frustrating because when you're trying to be of assistance, you're trying to kind of, you know, maybe help guide somebody, mentor them, continuing to, well, let's just face it, when you're dealing with somebody like who's in addiction and they keep trying to get, you know, clean or manage their use or whatever, and there's that continued kind of backsliding and relapsing and all of this, and it can become disheartening as a support person. And I feel like this is that energy, right? Not necessarily that they're in addiction, but that there is some frustration here. Okay? And maybe even feeling a little bit played, you know, because you have tried to help. And you're not seeing any kind of improvement, you know, and you care about this person. You might even really love them very deeply. But it's not necessarily your job to fix somebody. In fact, I'm a firm believer that we must all kind of come to the realization in life that nobody is going to save us. Okay? Nobody is going to show up in our life and save us. Now, I know, and I always, whenever I say this, I have to just mention, I'm not talking about like somebody, you know, pulling you from like a car that's on fire, or, you know, helping, like you you can't pay the rent this month and somebody's going to help you do that, right? That's not what I mean. I mean, somebody can't come into your life and live it for you. And we can't do that for other people, no matter how much we love them. So we must all sit with the reality that, yeah, we're in charge of our own healing, our own metamorphosis, evolution as a being. And so, you know, I feel like this is something that has really kind of, yeah, taken center stage of your life right now. And I feel you feeling pretty weary. Not necessarily knowing what to do with all of this. Now we also have the letters B-A, B-A, okay, if that means anything to you. We also have a person on a boat, okay. So the boat indicates to me that there is change. There is definitely, and this is on your part, okay. There's definitely a desire to change the dynamic of what's going on. And I feel like it's not like I'm giving up. I give up on this situation. No, I feel like this is more in the realm of, yeah, I'm setting some boundaries. I need to limit how much time and energy I'm putting into the situation because it is beginning to really affect my life. And probably your well-being. Maybe even financially. If you are, yeah, trying to help support somebody. And so I see you getting in that boat and deciding it's time to depart from how things are right now. And let me just plug this, and I'm sorry, but I have to. If you are somebody who is dealing with addiction in the family, in a close relationship. Now, I'm not the biggest 12-step guy, okay? But I do think there are good resources, and especially because this is a international accessible thing, going to AA, NA, but there's also something called Al-Anon, okay? And this is for the family, friends, children of people who are in addiction. And I think it's a really important community for anybody who needs that kind of support. Now, again, it doesn't have to be the focus of your life, but it's nice to go somewhere and talk to people, listen to people. You don't even have to say anything. Just listen to people who are going through maybe some of the same things that you are, or feeling some of the same things. There are also lots of support groups, both online and offline, for those who are in the role of caretaking. If you have somebody who is, you know, has some kind of chronic or terminal illness, mental health issue, I really implore you to look for a community, okay? These are roles that most of us will have to play at some point in our life, in some capacity, being the support person, being the caretaker for somebody, right? And you don't have to do it alone. A lot of people do, and it can be very isolating. So, you know, I just kind of want to talk about that sometimes. Talk about, you know, vaguely talking about resources. I'm not going to necessarily go too deeply into that anymore here. But, yeah, definitely something to look for, okay? Because you deserve support. Now, we also have, it looks like a person sitting. And I'm imagining sewing. We have them sitting right down here. Okay. Up here we have another person. And I'm feeling like these are almost like sisters. And I feel like maybe pulled apart by circumstance. I almost feel like maybe by marriage, right? One got married and moved away. These feel like maybe like your mother and aunt. Maybe this is you and your sister. But I feel like there is this connection that has almost been lost, really. And I feel like this has left a hole in the family. And I think that it's kind of like a thing where you feel like something's missing, but not really sure what exactly it is. Because let's face it, we live in a world now where, you know, not every family is very close. A lot of people, they move all over the place. And yeah, of course, we can text and we can call and we can video chat and all of that stuff. But a lot of us are living passive relationships, really, because of social media. That's a big thing. We feel like we know somebody's life and we're really involved with them. You know, we're up on all of the little things going on in their world, or at least we perceive so. And then you realize, like, I haven't even talked to them in like 6 months. I've just been reading their posts. Sometimes I even comment. But when's the last time you were alone together? When's the last time you had a deep conversation? You know, and I think this happens a lot. We think we know, we think we're really connected. In reality, it's like we haven't talked in years, you know, or at least days, weeks, months, maybe. But I do feel that this is a connection that might really need to be restored. And I almost wonder if this is, I almost feel like it's like a calling to each other psychically, if that makes sense, like a longing for one another. And so, like I said, this might be your mother and her sister. This might be you and a sister. I suppose it could be also the brother or something like this, or a cousin or a good friend. But it really does have this dynamic of sisterhood. Okay? But I feel like, yeah, this is something that maybe wants to be fostered. Now, we also have a dog. I wanted to point out this dog because the dog shows up. And here's the face of the dog here with the tongue hanging out. The dog seems to be showing up a couple times here. And so the dog really is like a best friend. This is loyalty. We also have an arrow over here. I want to see about the dog. I'm going to see what the cards have to say about it in just a second. I want to see what the oracle cards are going to kind of show us. Okay, so we have it looks like a feminine person. And I'm imagining, we have a carrot there. So I'm imagining for some reason, maybe it's their aura, their just energy. Maybe they wear a lot of orange. But there is a feeling of orange around them. It might be that they have like their walls painted orange, or their furniture. They have some kind of, I'm almost imagining like that kind of real orangey, kind of mid-century wood finish. It's not super orange, but it's kind of, you know, has like an orange glow to it. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like it's just, there's almost this really kind of contemporary orange artistic, expressive kind of energy around this person. And I feel like, I almost wonder if you work with them. It feels like somebody maybe you work with. And it feels like possibly, it feels like possibly there is maybe a good, like a friendship. I don't even know. I don't know that it's like a super close friendship. It feels to me like this is somebody you just kind of really look forward to seeing. And I feel like it's the universe is kind of like smiling. Like we put you in each other's like lives for some reason. And maybe this is what that dog has to do with. I want to see. I'm interested in the dog because the dog really is like somebody or something that you feel kind of inseparable, right? Or like this is like one of the core supports, relationships, kind of like really understanding each other on a deep level, even to the point where it like doesn't even need to be spoken, right? There's just that kinship there. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to do probably 6 cards. Usually I say 3, but it ends up being 6. So we have power. We have caution. Power, caution, riches. All right, we're still going to need to do a couple more here. Defense, health, fulfillment. Okay, so I feel that there's kind of a common, I won't say enemy, but kind of, right? Common, it's some kind of oppression. That's what it feels like. Some kind of oppressive energy. And this is, it makes sense to me that this is maybe somebody you work with, because it feels like maybe within the workplace, within the like small community, there seems to be somebody who really has kind of a lust for power, right? And wielding their power from their kind of, well, what they perceive to be an elevated position, right? And so maybe this is like a boss, you know, or, you know, somebody that runs the company, owns the company, whatever it is. And now I feel like you're very cautious, right? And listen, I almost feel this is what, as I'm looking at this, I'm really feeling like this is actually maybe it's like nepotism, because it's almost kind of like now if it's somebody who started a company, right? Who owns a business, a store, a restaurant, whatever, wherever you work, and they suck, right? But you know that they've worked really hard. So there's at least that. You're like, okay, you've put all of this together. You're running this whole thing. And yeah, you kind of suck. And I understand, you know. it's hard to do all of this, right? So there's some degree of like trying to, you know, rationalize why somebody might be the way that they are. But then they're kids, right? They're kids, they come in, they start working at the company. They maybe have grown up a little different. They haven't had to work so hard to, you know, obtain like this position that they have. And they have this kind of, you know, rich kid mentality. I can do what I want. I can act how I want. Nobody is going to really say anything because guess what? My daddy owns the company or whatever, right? And I feel like you are kind of on like this united front with this other person, and there's a real fierce loyalty there. Okay? It does feel like at times this is stressing you out. It is affecting your health, the work environment. Okay. Now, is it the worst work environment ever? Probably not. And I think that you do really try to separate your work with the rest of your life, right? But I think to some degree, it's like you're growing really weary of having to compartmentalize your world so much. But I think that's like what you have to do right now in this dynamic because you don't like to bring it home. And it does. It begins to affect your health with the stress, the worry, and all of that. Trying to navigate all of this. Now, it does put you in a defensive mode. But I think ultimately having somebody kind of, you know, understand where you're coming from and what you're going through in that work environment, it does feel validating, right? And now we have fulfillment. I don't know that this is fulfilling at all, but I think it does have an effect of not feeling like you're reading too much into it, that this is your fault, you're the one, like, oh, I just, you know, I can't get with, like, the culture of things, or, you know, I don't understand why I can't, like, just assimilate into the environment, or whatever. And, yeah, ultimately, I feel that, you know, having somebody there, validating how you feel, seeing that, okay, I'm not the only one that's like noticing this stuff go on. Yeah, it gives you at least kind of clarity and the ability to maybe refocus yourself. You know, put up the walls you need to so that you are able to really focus on the work, getting that done, making that money, and getting out of there, right? Not lingering in that space. And so, yeah, I do. I feel like ultimately it works towards your greater fulfillment. And it is amazing. Like, we've all had jobs, I'm sure, where we don't have any kind of fellowship. We have, you know, nobody to align ourselves with, nobody to even just kind of like chit chat with, right? And yeah, that can feel really, really, it's difficult to go into a work environment like that. Unless, right, you work alone, which is like optimal, at least for me. Like having a job, I've always loved doing work where you just go in by yourself. Like I loved prep cooking and stuff because I would, or baking. I have worked at like cafes and worked in the, you know, the back of the house and baked. Yeah, you're in there at like 3 in the morning by yourself and it's a breeze. It just feels nice. So anyways, let's go ahead. We're going to do 3 lucky numbers. I have this obnoxiously large die. It has 100 sides, and I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to roll it. Okay, so we have 40, 40, 40, 40. 14, 40, 14, 61, 40, 14, 61. All right, lucky numbers, 40, 14, 6. Did I say 61? Yes. Oh, I forget the numbers almost immediately. All right. Let's see. We also are going to finish. This kind of punctuates our reading. It will just be one last thought to leave on. And these are the Inner Child Oracle cards, and they're beautiful. And I'm just going to go through, stop where it feels right there. And 20. It's time to celebrate. Cultivate an air of celebration today. Cultivate an air of celebration today. Yes, absolutely. A wonderful day to celebrate. All right. Sagittarius, I'm going to tell you I love you. I love you. I love you. And thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. Also, if you'd like to leave a comment, I'd love to hear from you. If you're new to the channel, definitely shout it out in the comment section. And I think that's it. All right. Well, again, I love you. Take care of yourself. Hopefully, if you are in the path of this Hurricane Helen that just went through, or it's still, as I'm doing this reading, it is still traveling through. I don't know where it's at right now. I think, is it going into Georgia maybe? I don't know. But we're kind of waiting to see what has happened overnight. And so hopefully, I know that I have a few, at least, viewers that are from Florida. If you're in the path of the storm, I hope you are okay. I'm praying for each and every one of you, and sending you lots of love. All right. Take care of yourself. We'll talk in a few days. Good night.